very much. And hello everyone, good afternoon.
Hi.
First of all, we'd all like to say thank you to Thomas and to everyone who's organised this event today for asking us to come over to Lithuania from the UK. It's really a privilege to come to speak with you. And I hope to give you a little bit of a flavour of the work that we're doing in the UK in an attempt to combat racism and also fascism using a cultural campaign, a cultural movement against these ills in our society, and in particular music. So our campaign is called Love Music, Hate Racism, and I apologise for starting my talk with an unpleasant image. At least I hope everyone agrees it's an unpleasant image, because Lithuania, like much of Europe, I think was scarred with the real evidence of what happens when racism is allowed to grow and to fester, which was of course the Nazi genocide of 6 million Jews and millions of other people, Slavs, Gypsies, trade unionists and so on, disabled people and many others. The reason I started with that is because we are a campaign which starts from the fact that racism and fascism is very much a growing threat once more in Europe, it's sad to say. In the UK, we have a problem with an organisation called the British National Party, which is a fascist organisation along the lines of Hitler's Nazi Party, along the lines of Mussolini and all the classical fascist organisations. And of course in the rest of Europe there are even greater problems with these people. In France you have Jean-Marie Le Pen and the Front National, which have been very successful in French politics. And more recently, I think it's particularly worrying the situation in Italy, where you have violent persecution of Roma and Gypsies, particularly in the southern cities of Italy, in Naples, which has been almost encouraged by the government of Silvio Berlusconi. You also have, only last week in Austria, the Freedom Party, again an organisation that believes in the same ideas as Hitler and Mussolini and Franco, getting 30% in national elections. An organisation that actually held power only a few years ago. And so you can see that across Europe, I think we have the worst situation perhaps for 40 or 50 years in terms of the threat of racism and fascism dividing our societies, and of course the threat to democracy itself, not just the threat to minorities, but actually I would say we have a threat to the democracy that we have already. And in the UK, I think what happened was these people looked to the success of people like Le Pen in France. In the UK you have if you like, the traditional skinhead fascist. Many years ago we had a group called the National Front, they had the skinhead, the boots, the braces, the image that people are familiar with, but they were beaten back every time they tried to organise, and they realised they had to be more like their European counterparts. And so what they've done is to put on suits and to pose as respectable politicians, not Nazis, no, nothing to do with us, and to pretend to hide their real ideology. So we face a real problem, because a lot of people in the UK who are dissatisfied with the mainstream politics, and they see this fascist party as a protest vote, as maybe something different to vote for. They don't understand what these people really represent. And so what we looked to do was to create a movement among ordinary people using music, because music's something which unites people already. Every weekend in the UK, I'm sure across Europe, people go out, enjoy themselves together, and there's lots of mixing of cultures. The UK, of course, is particularly London, where our office is based, is a very multicultural society, and I think that's increasingly the case for much of Europe as well. We're increasingly having common experiences, and the things that are driving the success of fascist parties are increasingly common experiences. So we have hostility to refugees and asylum seekers.